and we are with Gavin Collins. Sir, thank you so much for being on the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks, Joe. It's a pleasure and quite excited to be here.
Can you explain to the guys who you are and what you do? Let's start on that side.
Long or short story?
Long one's great.
Yeah, I'm Gavin Collins, professional artist. I've been a professional artist for about 36 years, painting full time. But I'm also, I've got a great love for engineering. The two kind of aren't supposed to go together, but they do. So I've always been in engineering. I've had an engineering business for many years, and I guess it's also an art form in a sense, you know. So I've always done the engineering, and I've always been from very long ago, probably must have been 27 years ago. I built my first custom bike. So yeah, I've tried to make the engineering business sort of aim in that direction always, with the custom bikes and cars and things, you know.
That's how basically I came across you. That was the bikes first, and then the art. You know, then once I saw the bikes, and I started seeing the artwork, and then I was completely blown away by the stuff that you do.
Yeah, I think I mean, from when I was very young, I've always wanted to be involved with something that rides. You know, I think when you sort of like 12, 13, and you see cars and bikes, and you want something that actually has got an engine and not just a go-kart, you know. So I've always looked for ways of doing that. And you know, I think now 20, 30 years later, the art has sort of fortunately put me in a position where I can now build whatever I want, how I want, and it's quite a nice place to be, you know. Just to come up with a new idea, or even my collection of vintage bikes, you know, just to be able to buy them and restore them and just keep those classics in a safe place, you know. That's great for me, you know.
I mean, look, I'm kicking myself for not buying up vintage Harleys and stuff a few years ago. You know, when they weren't as cool as they are now.
Yeah, sure. Look,
because now just finding them and then finding the parts of them are just insane. On the restorations, do you still manufacture are you manufacturing a lot of parts? Are you importing stuff? How are you rebuilding?
Not on the restorations. On the restorations, I'm importing everything because we don't have anything here. I mean, I've got a couple of good friends who have got parts, but they also restore in. So, you know, parts don't flow easily between guys at the moment, you know, unless it's a sort of, you know, difficult to find part, and then we'll do a deal or something. But essentially, I'm just every day on eBay looking for original parts, and if I see something that I need, I import it. And now I mean, the pricing is just, especially with the rand, it's been so weak, the pricing is crazy. It's insane, you know. I just brought in and then that's on the vintage stuff, you know. I mean, obviously you wanna try and keep everything original and you know, not use too many aftermarket stuff unless you have to. But on the newer stuff, I've just bought in, I don't know if you saw that knucklehead, that KN93. So that's an SNS knucklehead motor. It's a reproduction motor, very similar to the original 36 knuckles. And you know, on those, when I build a bike like that, then I just I manufacture a lot of parts, custom stuff. Otherwise, I'll import, you know, and then I'm not worried if it's sort of what year it's from, or if it's new, or where it's from. You know.
But I mean, you've got such a nice style with those bikes. I mean, I was going through the photos and stuff that you were sending me. I mean, the rakes and stuff that you were running, that big wheel, that chunky wheel system and stuff. I mean, that's just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, you know, that's very much. I'm very much in love with the Japanese style of building. You know, these guys are building some incredible machines, and it's you don't see a lot of it because it's Japan, you know, and it's not sort of out there in the marketplace as opposed to the States. But design-wise, I mean, really beautiful, low, long designs. So I've kind of been influenced quite a lot by that. And then earlier on, just the sort of old school bobbers, which those flatheads, you know, they're very, very similar in style. So I've, that one, the 42 that I built, it's more sort of bobbery rather than original flathead. But yeah, that new knucklehead, that's based on the zero engineering style. So it's got a gooseneck frame. That frame I've manufactured here. I first went 47 degrees rake, and I knew I'm pushing it. I know that I shouldn't go over 45. And I really wanted to just see where the rake limit was. And I built the bike at 47 degrees on the bench. And I was happy with it when we took it off the bench, when it was fully mock assembled, and I hadn't started the motor yet. It was that brand new KN93 motor, the knucklehead motor. So I hadn't wired it yet, so I didn't start it, I didn't ride it, but I did sit on it, and we felt it through, and it was great. At 47 degrees, it was a little heavy on the steering. Anyway, we stripped it down, we painted it, finished the entire bike, wired it up, started, I rode out the gate, and I turned around, I almost cried. I said to the guys, we just can't run 47 degrees. It's too much. You can ride it, you know, it's a fight. It's like a gym workout, holding that wheel straight at 47 degrees. When you do go around the corner, you've got to fight to get it straight again. So anyway, you know, the limit, I knew always that the limit is 45 degrees, and even then it's pushing it. So 47 was pushing. So what I did is put it back on the bench, we stripped it again. It broke my heart. Cut the neck again, jigged it again, and then I put it to 39 degrees. So now I'm running 39 degrees, and it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
So now she's turning and everything.
Yeah, no, she's running absolutely amazing. I mean, at 39 degrees, it's a rideable bike. You can ride it across the country. I just said to the guys now, all right, never ever again will we put a weld on more than 39 degrees. I'm happy with that.
I love that. So I mean, look, a lot of guys will build something then like that, and it's an art piece, you know. It's horrible. I mean, I've seen it a lot where guys have built bikes. Awesome to look at, beautiful things, absolutely dogs. I mean a lot of the bikes that the TV shows of stuff has done has all been more showpieces than actual rideable. So the fact exactly, you know, they're made to get that shot where they're going down the road and maybe one or two turns, but that's it, you know.
Exactly. So that's how you know. For me, I mean, you know, that comes from the show industry. You know, when you enter in shows every year, especially in the States, I mean, there's something like 50, 60 shows, professional bike building shows a year. Guys are building bikes for those shows, and you know, it's got to move from level to level. You can't just have the same bike. So the guys are doing some way out stuff, and it's all great. I mean, from an engineering point of view, from an artistic point of view, it's fantastic. But for a riding bike, I mean, you know, most of those bikes on their showroom floors, they're not really riding them. I'm a bike rider. I mean, I always have been. I think I've got 13 or 14 bikes that I ride, Harleys. And for me, I really think that you know, just to be able to walk into my showroom, grab a bike, and go anywhere with it, not just to a show or, you know, trailer it or whatever. Most guys trailer those bikes to the show. It kind of kills the thing for me. And luckily, I'm in South Africa. You know, we haven't got a lot of shows. I wish we had one at least. You know, that would be good. But you know, yeah. For me, it's just about building a nice rideable bike. You know,
that's something that I've been talking to guys about. I mean, you know, you look at the bike industry and you look at the car industry in the US, and there's a lot of show that, you know, the on the car side, on the hot rod side, it's the Grand Roadster show, you know, and you know, Pebble Beach and all this type of stuff, and it's all these events that where craftsmanship and stuff comes in, and guys get recognized for the workmanship that goes into it. You know, there's a goal to work towards. You know, there's something, and it's not just a money type of thing, but you know, South Africa's really missing that. There's not this an event or something where guys can come out and really put out what they could do to push the limit of their engineering and their building style, that that could be a stepping stone even from South Africa to international market to compete on a bike building. Because I mean, I look at your bikes, and I mean, you can compete on an international market,
Well, thank you.
It is. No, your build style, your quality, your attention to detail. And there's a few guys in the country that can actually get there. But I think the part is that recognition is not there because that infrastructure to push that name is just not there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had this discussion just before lockdown before COVID. I mean, in about, I think it was January, February, we were talking about, because we're building about 3 bikes at a time at the moment. And we were, I said, okay, I want to build a knucklehead. I haven't got a knucklehead in my collection. And, that motor alone is now, you landed here at about 200 grand. It's not cheap. So, it's just because of the exchange rate, it's very difficult to compete on those international standards, because the guys can, you can buy a water jet mag wheel off the machine there, and it gets to you in an hour and a half. It's crazy. I mean, you can really build a bike there in a day or two, or in a week or two. It's quite a slip. I mean, I ordered for that bike. It's probably about 3 or 4 different shipments coming from the States. It's really is a hassle. And then we just haven't got that sort of community of so many people doing it, that it's sort of rolling, it hasn't got momentum. And we had this discussion, and I said, guys, in Cape Town especially, there's just nothing. I mean, we had the garage built show every year. That was and that was great. That actually really started the momentum. I must be honest. That was the last, I think it was 4 years. I think I won in year 3. I don't even remember. But that was really starting to sort of get guys that I know interested in custom fabrication, and it was working. And unfortunately, I don't think they've made it. I believe that they've closed the doors now.
They closed before COVID. They were saying that.
Exactly. So we're hoping that they're still going to try and put together a show. Anyway, we had a discussion, and I said to the guys, look, let's do a show. I mean, there's got to be enough guys in Cape Town who are still building something custom in their garage, and we just need to put it together, And then we sort of got ahead of ourselves, and we were talking about doing a sort of a Daytona type show, maybe getting the Strandfontein beach going for 3 or 4 days, rent from the council, and have some old flathead races there, and a nice custom show down there on the beachfront or something. Anyway, and then obviously we all went into lockdown, and we kind of, no one's talking about it anymore. So I finished the build, and was really all dressed up and nowhere to go, I mean, I guess that's the way it is, If we were in the States, I mean, there would be a show every couple of weeks that I could go up to and display the bike,
Have you ever thought of sending bikes through to like Sturgis and stuff like that?
Joe, not really. It's I would love to do that here in South Africa. I think my biggest problem is time. I mean, for me, building bikes is still it's a sort of part-time hobby business.
Yeah.
It's not what it's not where I'm making money, put it that way. I do have to travel 2-3 times a year for the art. So that kind of takes up my traveling time. And then I've got 3 art galleries. So I produce about 200 paintings a year. And I sell 200 paintings a year, so I have to produce 200 a year. So that takes up you know, I mean, 99% of my time, really, when I'm talking about building bikes, it's probably an hour a day, and then maybe an hour and a half or two in the evenings, you know, when I'm sort of taking a break. So that would be my lunchtime and evenings, you know.
Yeah, that's actually, I mean, 200 paintings. That's almost a painting a day. You know, from a time perspective, if you take in on the weekends, because I think people have this idea in their heads that you're an artist. You know, you're lying on the couch and you're like, okay, I feel inspired now. You know, and then you go paint something and then you put it out and then it sells and it moves. I don't think people think that you're actually moving art at that scale. I mean, that's insane.
It's crazy. You know, I mean, it hasn't always been like that. It's taken, you know, 35, 36 years to get there.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, in all honesty, it's a shitty business, man. You know, the first 15 years you eat once a week, you know, it really is like that. And I mean, it's only been about 10 years now that things have been really good in terms of the art business. But I mean, it's taken, like I say, 35, 36 years to build a name and to build a client base and the credibility that I can get the prices that I do for my work, and to be able to move them at that rate. You have to really be popular and be out there, you know, with the art. So, you know, to do as you said, it's almost a painting a day. It's not really. It's like 1.5, you know, days per painting. But what actually happens is, if I go back 20 years, the painting that I do in that time would have taken me 3 weeks, and that's that 10,000 hour thing. You know, that's when I walk into my studio and I do a painting. Now it's almost like a dance. I know exactly where to put the paint. I know exactly what I'm doing. I don't make mistakes anymore. I know what paint I'm using. I'm not experimenting anymore. It's quite it's a fine-tuned skill now. So it goes quick, you know, and that's the thing. I mean, the same with cars and bikes. You know, I've seen guys in body shops spending a year on doing body work on a car that'll take a professional like 3-4 days. You know, that's really the difference. I mean, knowing what metal does, knowing what paint does, that's just years of experience. So you get better at it and things go smoother. Then I've also, you know, having the 3 galleries, I've got 13 staff or so. Everyone works together well. I've got excellent sales ladies. You know, we in high-end, you know, Stellenbosch, Franschhoek and the waterfront, great places. So we have the clients that have money and they come in, and so that all forms a sort of a good fluid running business, you know.
But I mean, you don't do painting. You do sculptures and stuff as well. Am I right? I know that the horse head. I mean, that you've got it in the back. My wife rides horses, and she just actually loves it. She loves all the horse work that you do. You know.
Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, so you know, sculpture. I mean, I'm not a sculptor. You know, I studied art at Ruth Brown School of Art 30 years ago. Again, 35 years, 36 years ago, I don't even know. And I studied sculpture, and I enjoy doing sculpture because, again, it's kind of it falls into an engineering perspective as well, and design and form, and I just love that. So you know. I did a trip a couple of years ago. Where did we go? I can't even remember. But I looked at a lot of sculpture, and when I came back, I thought, okay, I'm going to start doing a lot more sculpture. And that, for the first one I did, was that horse that you can see in the background, the head, and it was great. I mean, really great. I enjoyed it. It takes long compared to painting for me, and again, it probably that, you know, 10,000 hour thing. I make mistakes, and you've got to repeat and all those things. So it's, again, I would say the sculpture is more like the car building and the bike building, rather than my main business. When I was young, same time as the cars, you know, I wanted something to be able to move, and we lived on a farm, and I wanted a horse. I mean, I remember when I was 11, 12, a horse would have been just amazing, you know. And that's the same thing. So I fell in love with horses as well. So that's why I paint so many horses, you know. I've had quite a few horses over my lifetime. I suppose it's that same kind of feeling, you know, you want to get into a car and feel something moving you, or get onto a horse and feel it moving you, you know.
How did you get there? What is your background? How did you, the art, all this type of stuff? I mean, from growing up South African, South African kid, like you said, on a farm. I mean, to become an internationally renowned painter or artist, how did that come to be?
Well, you know, I wanna say it's a fairy tale. I wanna say it's luck, and it's the grace of God. I wanna say a lot of things, but the truth of the matter is, damn hard work, man. You know, I didn't do well at school. I didn't like school. I still don't like school. I don't like the idea of school. I didn't do well, and I could almost draw. When I decided I wanted to be an artist when I was 11, 12, I could almost draw. And I had a good art teacher. She was very supportive, and art was the one subject in school that I did well at, not because I was really good, but because I paid attention and I actually enjoyed it, so I worked well at it. And then she taught me to paint, and when I was about 13 or 14, I went home with a friend of mine whose father was a professional artist, James Yates, and he played a big part. He doesn't even know it, but just in terms of inspiration, when I saw that this guy's doing the most amazing art and selling it and making good money out of it, I thought, wow, maybe I can do this. And I mean, I was youngster, I was 12, 13. And I started painting, and when I was 14, I had an exhibition. Must have had about 15, 16 paintings on the exhibition, mostly street scenes like the one in the background here. Not as good, obviously, I was a youngster. And I sold them all. So it was sort of 2 nights, I think, and I sold out, and I thought, wow, well, you know, I can do this. And from then on, I mean, I painted every single day. And Joe, when I say every single day, I'm not bullshitting. I painted every single day for almost the rest of my life. I painted, if I didn't have canvas, I would actually take my bed sheets. My mother will contest to that. I took my bed sheets, stretched them over a piece of wood, and I painted on it. Yeah. So I practiced. That was really what it was. You know, I practiced painting every single day. I've painted every single Christmas day up until now. That's what I do. I get up every morning and I go into my studio and I paint. And I think that you know, it's hard work. And if I look back at my work, not only 30 years ago, but even a few years ago, I'm still getting better. So I'm still practicing. You know, it's not like I'm there yet. And that's the most amazing thing, that you can get good over years, and it does take years. I mean, it has taken me a lifetime, really, to get to where I am. But it's practice, you know, and I think that's with anything, you know, really, that's with anything. It doesn't matter what you do. It's practice.
It reminds me of that old saying, it's amazing, the harder I work, the luckier I get, you know?
Exactly.
So...
Yeah, I mean, I made the right moves. Very early on in my career, when I got married, it was like 20 years ago, we tried to do what we thought was the right route in terms of art, in terms of getting your paintings into galleries and supplying galleries and trying to build a name like that. And to be honest, it does work that way, but it doesn't work the same way as what I did it. So what we did eventually is we opened our own gallery, and you know, that was 20 years ago. And our very first gallery, it's a very different business model, painting to supply other galleries, where you hang in 1 or 2 works in a gallery full of other artists' work, or painting to fill your own gallery with all your works. Very, very different model. And it builds credibility, and also it builds a very, very keen eye to what's selling, in a sense. Yeah, so I'm getting feedback from the staff in the galleries, from all my salespeople, what people are enjoying, what worked well, how my colors are changing, if people are responding to it. In a gallery situation, normally you wouldn't get that feedback. You wouldn't really get sort of day-to-day feedback of if you're going in the right direction. So it's very difficult to do anything wrong when you've got all that information in front of you. So if I do a painting that's slightly new, let's say, by the end of the day, once it's in the gallery, I'm getting feedback. Wow, the response was great to that, and that means, okay, let's go in that direction. So I've got my ear to the ground. Yeah, I know what to paint. Yeah.
But you did, so, I mean, you've got the painting, you've got the bikes, but you've also been busy with a few cars. I mean, you've got is that a 57 Chevy you've been busy with? Pickup?
Yeah, that's the truck, the 57, the pickup. Yeah. 57.
Tell us about, because you've got that one, and
it actually was
Barracuda, hey.
Yeah, and I've got the 68 Barracuda that is about 95% finished. I'm just waiting. The motor's done. I haven't got a permit to go and fetch it, but I'm going to go get it soon, and then we're going to drop that motor in. So Stuart out in Kalani Gardens is building that motor for me. It's a 360 Chrysler. Mm-hmm. And then I've got the 68 Chevelle, which you probably haven't seen because the motor's finished, the big block 454. So that with a massive tunnel ram and a rough idle cam, that's all beautiful and finished. That's going in the 57 Chevelle, but I haven't got to the actual build yet. So yeah, those are the three car projects. The pickup is a nice story. The 57. That sort of was the first, I would say, car main build for me that I did. And what actually happened, I was in hospital 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and superbug, and I was actually really man down. And my daughter she just turned 17, and she was studying for her learners or something, and they came to visit me, and I said, okay, well, choose a car, whatever car you want, we'll get it for you. And the next day she brought me this picture of this 57 Chevy truck, and she said, I want this one.
I like her.
Yeah. And I, I'm lying there, and I'm on morphine, and I'm drugged, I'm out of it. Anyway, and I get on my phone because I'm really bored as well, and I find these guys. I don't even remember those oaks in Salt River that used to sell the bodies, the shells. And I found one, and I called my wife, and I said, okay, come and visit me in the hospital. She came through to visit me, and I said, right, let's just go for a walk around the hospital. And we got down to the bottom, and I took my drip out, and I said, right, where's the car? Let's go. So we all in, we got in the car. And she said, drive me through to these guys in Salt River. She took me through there, and I found I had a look at the 57 body. And I said to my daughter, is this the one? She said, yep, that's the one. And then I found a 42 Ford shell there as well.
Yes?
The jailbreak shell,
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I mean, not knowing it, I really didn't even remember this. And I said, okay, I'll take both. And I said, deliver them to the place, to my workshop. And then when I got out of hospital about 2 weeks later, I got home, and here's these two cars standing, and I'm like, oh God, what have I gotten into now? And I had, let's call it about 9-10 months before my daughter turned 18, and I said to her, okay, look, I'll build this car, but you're going to build it with me. Everything that I do, you're going to come and do with me. You got to learn this. I want you to learn to weld, learn to drill, learn to grind, everything. And Jo Genion, she did it. Hey? Every single day she was there. She learned skills like you can't believe. She can weld, she can grind. Anyway, we built the truck together, and then she took it for a drive when it was finished. And she came back and she said, she was crying. She said, Dad, it's just too big. It's just too powerful, Anyway, I said, okay, well, I'll tell you what. I'll keep the truck, and I'll buy you a Mini. So I bought her a Mini Cooper, and I got the truck. And my only regret is that she wanted that light green, the typical 57 green. color, and I wanted black. So now I've got a green truck that I've got to rebuild and make black. Yeah, and I did it because she went on to study. She studied at the same place that I did, where I studied art. She studied jewelry design. So all those skills that she learned building that truck, they relate over to jewelry design. So and that's what I'm talking about. It's just learning those skills that take time. It takes really long.
We've been talking about that a lot over the last few months, especially with all the shit happened with COVID, how actual skilled, how can I put it, hand skilled people that can work with their hands is actually sitting in a better position at the moment than, from a technical or accounting and all this type of stuff. When the zombie apocalypse comes, it's going to be the people that can work with their hands that will survive.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a big fan of that. I believe in that 100%. My daughter's boyfriend is, I think, 4 years or whatever that he's been living here with her, and his brother lives here as well. And they've got a house just down the road from me, next door on the farm. And they both now learning those skills. So they both work with me in the workshop. The one youngster, Donovan, he's just turned 18 now. He's been learning from my father, who's a knife maker. So he spent the last year apprenticing with my father, who also lives on the farm here with us. So those skills are amazing, because now I'm seeing, the guy comes into the workshop and we're building a chopper, and I say to him, all right, just cut out that and make that, and he can do it, because he's learned those skills. And it's fantastic. It really is, because for the rest of his life, he'll be able to weld, he'll be able to build something, And look, academics are great. As I said, I'm not a big fan of school. It just doesn't suit my personality, but it's great, But again, learning to farm, learning to plant, learning to do hand skills, you can't beat it, The transfer of skill it's a big problem. I remember when I was, so what was I, 19, 20, I just come out the army, and I got a job in a chop shop building bikes. And I remember, the guys who were much older than me, a great bunch of guys, and they taught me skills. They really did, just by watching them or apprenticing in a sense. And then they give you something to do and you mess it up and you get a clap and you come back and you do it again. And those things, I don't forget any of those skills that I learned from those guys. And then obviously, once you got a base skill, you start developing your own, and then you sit and you work them out. And I'm not an academic guy. I battle to learn things. And an example, I bought a beautiful milling machine a couple of months ago, and maths I'm not good at, and now all of a sudden, you're sitting in front of this machine and you need to understand maths. So you just work it out, and I've spent hours, probably hours longer than most people would, just to be able to use the machine properly. And those skills are gone. That passion for something like that is gone. I don't see that in any of the youngsters that I see nowadays. Luckily, these two guys that I'm working with now, I'm starting to see that massive appreciation for old school. And it really makes me proud to see the way they're working on stuff, building things and making their own parts and things like that. It really does make me feel good. And it gives me a bit of hope, because I was thinking, I always say, gee, I got a daughter. What do I do with all these Harleys when I'm gone, and also I don't see a group of youngsters wanting to ride choppers and custom bikes anymore.
It just breaks my heart. That breaks my heart. Yeah,
it's not there.
It's just, well, look, a lot of people don't know this. I'm dyslexic. Completely.
Yeah, me too.
I struggle to write spelling. I wasn't very good at school either. But I'm full on dyslexic. I own a publication, I own a magazine, I do the most of the writing, but I can't spell for shit.
Yeah,
All my,
that's me. You know,
everything has to be checked and that type of stuff. But like I
yeah.
said, I had a problem with I can write, I can't spell, but I wanted to do something, so you had to sit and figure out a way around it.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, I mean, me too. I can't spell. My wife's my permanent spell check. You know, and
Mine too.
if I need an email sent, she does it. You know, I mean, and that's fine. You know, I've always said for many years, one of my favorite sayings was, if I want to go somewhere, I don't need to know where it is as long as the pilot knows. He's got to get me there, you know. And I mean, that's the truth. You don't have to know everything. There's enough people who do know what you don't know, you know. So for me, you know, just putting those skills that I do know to work as best as I can. That gets me where I want to go, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Definitely. So listen, I know you're a busy man. So let me leave you so you can get back to work. When I am in Cape Town again, I am going to come visit you.
Absolutely.
Nothing about. I want to come see this farm. I want to come see where you build everything. But thank you so much for your time, dude. Yes, this has been a wonderful conversation. I love your work. My wife loves your work. So yeah, thank you for everything. All right.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Thanks a lot. We'll
All
chat
right.
soon.